Fever splits from Christie Sides as Caitlin Clark becomes the new biggest star.
Fever have fired head coach Christie Sides after just 2 seasons. Indy went 20-20 this season, making the playoffs for the first time since the 2016 season and Caitlin Clark's first year as a pro.
How come she never considered standing up for her players, especially when they had a star like Caitlin Clark on the team? Clark experienced such severe physical abuse on the court that she contemplated quitting the WNBA altogether.
Sides has been fired. She is out as the Indiana Fever coach.
The Indiana Fever now have the opportunity to hire a leader who is genuinely capable of making the correct decisions and creating a secure, encouraging atmosphere where the team can realize its full potential.
Time at least, it sounds like the Indiana Fever, they've made other changes as well, but they think that moving on from Christie Sides is probably the best.
She was supposed to lead the Indiana Fever, but with her 33-47 record, she turned mediocrity into an art form. During her 2 years in charge, she accomplished very little except to allow Caitlin Clark, the rookie star driving the team, to be tossed around like she was in a rugby match. She wasn't just asleep at the wheel, she was practically in a coma. The Fever even garnered some notice because of Caitlin Clark's incredible 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists per game.
It's a new beginning, it's a new start. And, I think it's great for our franchise, it's great for our...
While others hung about in ignorance, Clark was out there shattering records, garnering headlines, and preventing admirers from leaving. Let's now examine her strategic genius, or lack thereof. Yes, this is the same Celeste Taylor who won the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year award and was selected with the 15th overall pick. Taylor only played 3.2 minutes per game before teams decided she was expendable. The backlash from fans and analysts was overwhelming, but the teams defended the decision as a business decision. Oh, please. The last time I looked, business decisions in sports were supposed to improve the team, not leave it with a defense that looked like a sieve cutting one of the best defenders on a team that desperately needed defensive help because of her teams. The Seattle Storm had a sports day, dropping 30 per.
Guys know Caitlin Clark reminds me a lot of Steph Curry mixed with Larry Bird, with the branding of Michael Jordan.
Then came the turnovers. Oh, the turnovers. 20 per game became the standard for the Fever under Sides, and these weren't just rookie mistakes. They were patterns begging for someone to intervene and correct it. However, while Clark wowed fans with her deep shots and her incredible assist to Aaliyah, Boston Sides appeared to believe that everything was going according to plan, with no strategy to control the chaos or a game plan to increase Clark's impact. Nothing more. Let's go on to what may be the most obvious mistake of all. Sid's total quiet during Clark's violent series of hits and fouls, which made it seem more like she was battling an MMA fighter than WNBA defenders.
Got an all-world talent, and it felt like the coach was holding back Caitlin Clark. The Indiana Fever fired.
In order to ensure that their star isn't being abused on the court, a coach's role is to shield their players from officials when things get out of control. However, she could have just as easily been a spectator, watching Clark get thrashed as if physicality had been a requirement of her twisted coaching manual. Unless you're really out of your league, you don't let your best player absorb hits like that without intervening.
I was just basketball at the end of the day. That's never going to change. I'm never going to lose that. I feel like I'm getting...
And speaking of being out of her league, let's talk about her in-game adjustments, or rather, her total lack of them. The Fever would crumble in the fourth quarters, facing defensive breakdowns, constant foul trouble, and three-pointers from opponents. It was like clockwork. Every game had the same problems, the same story. Remember that catastrophe against the Chicago Sky? The Fever was a mess, but did Sides do anything at all? She just stood there looking lost while her team spiraled into communication problems, which she acknowledged to them. But that was all she did admit because it seemed that in her mind, admitting a problem was enough to solve it.
Get my point. You get my point. Respectfully make it happen. There's, of course, Cheryl Miller. Her name is coming up as well. This guy says, I know some people are surprised.
Sides appeared more like a passionate spectator than the head coach. She had a player like Clark who could help Aaliyah and drain threes from the parking lot. Boston treated it as like it were her day job, but did she take advantage of it? She pretended that Clark's extraordinary aptitude and their compatibility were coincidental. As if that weren't enough, the way the club handled injured guys like Demiris Dant was heartbreaking. Clark, after all, set up Boston 37 times for scoring plays, 6 times more than any other teammate did. However, the team somehow missed the message on truly exploiting the synergy to establish a coherent offense. Dantas needed to ease back into the game, but there was no clear strategy, no seamless return to the team's rhythm, just Sid's typical mayhem. She lacked a strategic plan and a roadmap, just a series of bad decisions. It's understandable why the Fever flowed as smoothly as a traffic bottleneck. By the time they confronted the Chicago Sky, it seemed like a horror show. Defensive lapses with no communication and no change to halt the assault. The Skies essentially got away with it, and the Sides just sat there utterly at a loss for how to react.
Nonsensical substitutions at all the wrong times, benching, leaving Caitlin Clark on the bench too long, playing shoddy defense. Christie Sides, I'm going to be honest, feels like a really, really good junior high basketball coach. I just think that's where she is. Maybe she could, I'm sure, coach at a lower level, a smaller high school, 2 or 3A maybe, but...
Let's not overlook the complete lack of support for Clark. This rookie was being repeatedly hit with hard fouls, as if the referees were viewing her through a blurry lens. The one person who ought to have been yelling from the sidelines, calling out officials who were defending her player, was nowhere to be seen. Clark had to face unrelenting physicality that went unpunished, and Sides unwilling to speak up. Coaches are meant to shield their players to defend themselves when things get difficult, but no Sides left Clark on her own, as if she was expected to bear the whole burden and put up with the abuse without even raising an eyebrow from her alleged leader.
She had her shot, but just couldn't get her players to play defense. Absolutely.
Furthermore, her skillful use of in-game modifications would cause the defense to crumble as the game entered the fourth quarter, allowing opponents to pile up fouls and shoot three-pointers like practice shots. We watched game after game, but Side was in her own world. She could have tried a timeout or any other fresh strategy to keep the squad on track, but she naturally kept making the same mistakes. She seemed to believe that acknowledging that there were communication problems was the answer in and of itself, even though she was expecting for different outcomes. Christie, good job identifying the issue. However, how about resolving it?
First coach to take you to the playoffs and you sack her. Better believe it. She's gone. Thank you for your service, Christie Sides. Very excited for what's next. The team is going to be unstoppable.
The team was desperate for a leader who could truly elevate Clark's talent, nurture her potential, and create a winning strategy. But instead they got Christie Sides, a coach who mishandled the roster like it was her first time seeing a basket, who didn't recognize her star's value, and who missed every opportunity to create something remarkable before firing her. The only surprise is that it took this long because the Indiana Fever wanted to move forward, and, now that Sides is gone, they can finally start searching for someone who is capable of.
Smelt this coming GM change. You really did. You felt like this could be on the horizon. This was the correct decision. Does that mean we're going to see Stephanie White?
On the court, Clark is like lightning. Her energy is electric, and it's the kind of star power that doesn't just fill seats. It makes people care about the Fever again. The impact on ticket sales is off the charts, and she made the Fever a must-watch team all by herself, echoing the league-shaking influence that vintage players like Becky Hammond brought to the game.
The horrible coaching job that Christie Sides must have done during the game. And yeah, that's what would happen. She would bleep up a game, and they would lose. In a game that they would blow huge leads.
Name White is a natural choice because of her connection to Indiana and her awareness of Clark's aesthetic. She knows how to create a strategy that showcases every aspect of Clark's game rather than just throwing her on the court. With plays that allow her to dominate the score and set up her teammates, talent White may be the key to turning Clark from a sensational rookie into the cornerstone of a franchise rebuild. This type of coaching not only elevates Clark but also the entire team, though there will undoubtedly be difficulties striking a balance between Clark's explosive scoring and her innate playmaking ability. Difficult. She is more than simply a shooter. She is a game changer and facilitator who can improve the appearance of anyone on the field.
If Christie Sides maybe wasn't the right fit, if this indeed is a move to activate and get more from Caitlin Clark, then Stephanie White is likely at the top of the list.
Okay, we'll keep a lookout for that name.
However, She will require a coach who can find that fine balance between allowing her to score goals and allowing Reigns to manage the tempo with the appropriate direction. Her adaptability might completely rethink the Fever's approach, not just her position. This type of change is difficult, but with a leader who knows how to best utilize Clark's abilities, it's just what the team needs to transform this fresh momentum into long-term success. The Fever may have advanced to the playoffs, but let's face it, it wasn't because of Christie Sides. Rather, it was in spite of her. She believed she could coast by without having any significant influence, without defending her players, and without cleaning up the mess she had left.